Hello, UDFC members. Thank you for tuning in and giving us your time. This is our back to play plan, our first video with a basic version of what the program is going to look like this summer. Attached to the same email is a member survey, our second one of the summer. That's incredibly important for you to complete. But before you get to that survey, I highly recommend you watch this video to know what the program is going to look like. So we'll get going here. First page, introduction. Before we move into the presentation, I'd like to start with a massive thank you for your patience, your support, your positivity. It's been a long 3 months. It's unprecedented time for all of us. Thankfully, we have an incredible board. We have outstanding members and we have enthusiastic athletes. So we're nearly ready to get going now. This is the first big step towards being ready. So I'm definitely excited. It has been a long process. There's been lots of ups and downs. The goalposts have moved significantly, almost on a weekly, almost daily basis. But we have now got our plan confirmed. It's been approved by Soccer Nova Scotia. So now we are working towards getting it on the field into action. The next 10-15 minutes, I'm going to present you the basic plan, what it's going to look like. This is essential for you guys so that you know what to expect. And then when you fill in that member survey, you're doing it from a place of understanding. So like I said, I'll try not to make it too dry, but I'm just really going to try and present you the information. So thank you again, and here's to a great summer, and I'll get into the details now. So we will start with our programs. So basically, we decided to split the club into 6 separate parts. So we have the Treble A program, which the teams have already been picked. They were picked back in October, and they've been training as a group since January. I actually feel really bad for this group. They haven't actually played any real games since August last year, so it's been a long wait for them, almost 11 months since they played a real game. They're already grouped together, so it makes sense to keep them in those current teams. And keep them training together as well. They will be split during practices. Obviously, we're only allowed to train with 10 people at a time, 9 and a coach. So we will be following those guidelines, but they will train on the same field at the same time, 9 in one half, 9 in the other half. The second part we've split the club into is our U12 to U18 groups. This includes all the levels, both genders, and all those age groups. So, Whitecaps, Prospects, C, B, A, AA, boys and girls. For simplicity's sake, we decided to keep them together for now and give them the same programming. They will be separated still by their ages, by their genders and styles, which I'll get to shortly. But the programming, it will be the same for all of them. 10s and 11s skill centers and community programs, we're going to group them together, again, for simplicity's sake. They will be split U10 and U11, boys and girls, as per usual. They will follow a similar program to the 12s and 18s, but without the styles, which, again, I'm going to get to shortly. Finally, our U9 and younger skill centers, our mini programs, and our seniors. At this point, we aren't going to be running programs for them. I do have a slide on that in a few moments' time to explain our reasons why and where we plan to go with them. So a bit of a program overview here. If you need to have a pause and have a read, this will be a good time. So this just kind of goes over some of the stuff I mentioned a few seconds ago. There's also some other information here. So if we look at the Treble A column to start with, the Treble A's will have 3 practices a week. 2 of them will be on weeknights for 1 hour. 1 will be on a weekend for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Main field will be Auburn, Tallahassee. The teams are already grouped as per their teams earlier in the year. So there's a maximum of 18 players, which actually fits perfectly. So we can split them in half and have 9 on each half. The style of practices doesn't matter. They're already in their teams and they already have their coaches. And the number of practices will be set at 3. So this is a program for the Treble A's that we're selling. So you will have to purchase all 3 practices per week for the entirety of the cycle. The estimated start date, we're going to start the Treble A's a week earlier than everyone else. They only have 6 teams. So the thought process behind that is it's a bit of a soft launch. Gives us a chance to go through our protocols, go through our planning, go through seeing if the field works and making sure everything's perfect, ready for the big launch a week later. So the Treble A's do get an extra week in the first cycle. As you'll see here, they have 5 weeks compared to everyone else's 4. The estimated I put estimated first cycle end date. It will be August 16th, which will be the same for everybody. We do have a plan for a second cycle starting immediately after the first, but we want to hold off announcing that one in case there are more changes, and we also obviously want to try and bring in some of the other programs that haven't started yet. Registration for the Treble A's will be through invite through Demisphere, which a lot of you have experienced in previous years. 12 to 18s. So like I mentioned, that includes all the levels and all the ages in between those age bands. The number of practices will be 1 or 2 per week. That will be decided by you, the member. If you do want more than 2, that may be a possibility. After we've completed registration, if there are open spaces and players that want 3, 4, or 5 practices, we will offer them to you. We are going to start with 2 just to make sure that everyone has at least 1 practice. We want to make sure with our limited capacity that everyone gets at least 1 first before we start moving into 3s and 4s. The length of practices for the U12 to U18 groups will be 1 hour, all on weeknights. The main fields will be an Astro and Ocean View, although they will move between some of the other fields as this is the largest group. The max number of players per group is 9, which matches the number in 1/2, so they will be grouped in groups of 9. And the style of practices, which we'll get to in the next slide, will be the A, B, C, or D. And like I said, we'll get to that in a second. The initial maximum number of practices available per player is 2 right now, which I touched on earlier. And again, our estimated start date is July 20th, a week after our soft launch with the Treble A's, giving us a first cycle of 4 weeks. That does mean if you purchase 1 practice a week, the first registration will be for 4 practices. If you practice 2 practices a week, the first registration will be for 8 practices. So it will be in 4-week blocks. The estimated ends date will be again August 16th, and registration will be through Demisphere as per normal. U10 and 11 ages, which includes the skill centers and the community program, very, very similar to the U12 and U18, as you can see. Only difference really being that the main fields will be Cole Harbour High School and Portland Estates. Again, there may be some other fields needed there, and we can mix and match as we work through the schedules. The U8, U9 skill centers, the mini program, and the seniors. Right now, as you'll see, like I said, we're not running programming. We do have an estimated start date for August 17th, which is the beginning of our second cycle. Like I said, I'll get into the details of that in a couple of slides' time. So the styles for each, this is just for the U12 to U18 program. This doesn't apply to the Treble A's who already have their coaches, and it doesn't apply to the U10s and U11s who all their practices are going to be a mixture of style B and style C anyway. So this only applies to the U12s to U18s. So part of your schedule when you pick your practices, you're going to be able to pick at least 1, maybe 2 of these. Style A is scrimmage only. This is a style aimed at those players who just want to show up and play games. If you're missing games, this is a good one for you. Right now that we are limited to a maximum of 4v4, depending on the night, it could be a 3v3 or a 2v2, or we could have multiple 2v2s as long as we don't go over our maximum of 9 players. There will be a coach there to manage and keep track, but the session will be purely scrimmages. Style B will be a mix of fun games and activities as well as scrimmages. Pretty similar to what you would usually find at a normal B or an A practice during the summer. The session will be a mix of fun soccer games and some scrimmages. This one is aimed at players who want to go to the field and have some fun with their friends, but they want a bit more than just scrimmages. Style C is more of a developmental focus. So this is similar to Style C. It is Style C, but would include more developmental drills aimed at improving players. So it's similar to Style B. Sorry, it's a typo there. But we are now looking, can we try and improve our players? Can we give them some coaching points? Can we give them some feedback? Can we design activities to try and aid that improvement? And then Style D is the most developmentally focused. These sessions are designed for players who have a strong interest in being the best player they can and trying to reach their potential. There will be expectations with Style D, such as players showing up ready to learn and play. These sessions would what you would expect a normal AA or a normal Treble A team session to look like. So the minis, the skill center, U8, U9, and senior programming. So like I mentioned, we're not going to be running these programs just yet. That isn't to say that these programs aren't incredibly important to us. There are some reasons behind it, which we'll get into now. Don't yet feel like we're capable of leading these programs as well or as safely as we should. So the minis, the U8 and U9, the original reason we decided not to run these programs was based on the fact that the parents had to be at the field with their child at all times. That meant with our maximum of 10 that you could actually only have 4 players on the field, 4 players plus 4 parents plus the coach gets you the 9 region. At this point, that is still true for the U8s. So it's still not something that we think is viable or worthwhile doing. The U9s have changed as per last Thursday. They're still recommended to have a parent, but it's not essential. So the big problem we have with the U9s right now is our original planning and our capacity didn't involve them. So at this point, we haven't found a way to involve them in the scheduling in a safe way where our protocols are followed properly. So at this point, we're going to hold off for the U9s in particular, and we are going to try and incorporate them in August 17th second cycle start date. We are working on some plans to try and make that feasible. For the mini program in particular, we're also looking to host a free online weekly session. So the mini players can tune in and get a bit of a workout. It'll be 30 minutes to 45 minutes. We're also working with Tim Hortons right now, trying to figure out if we can give out all the summer gear, which we have got before the lockdown happened. So if that happens, we will send out an email to everyone who was with our mini program last year and make sure you get your gear and you know when that weekly session is. For the seniors, the major problem really is that most of our senior players want to play games. That is not something that is possible right now in Nova Scotia, at least not above a 4v4. So at this point, all we can offer is training or 4v4, which according to our member survey a couple of weeks ago wasn't something that members were looking for. We are going to try and see if a 4v4 in-house league is something that our members, our senior players want. And again, we might try and get that set up for the start on August 17th. Just want to reiterate, we do care about all of you. We do want to make sure that you feel like you are being cared about, and we are thinking of ways to get you back involved. I seriously apologize for not being able to get you involved sooner, but we will get there, I promise. Okay, protocols and processes. This one is a little bit of a dry section, but it's very, very important. So there is a ton of these. I've only put the ones that are appropriate to the players in here. There is a lot of processes and protocols behind the scenes that the staff are going to have to be trained in. The coaches are going to have to be trained in. They have to be followed to the letter. I'm not going to bore you with those today. I'm just going to go through the ones that you need to know. So first things first, the fields. So I've got a picture of Auburn High on the right-hand side over here. It's a bit of a setup of how all the fields are going to look. Each one has 2 car parks and 2 entrances that are separate. That stops our mixing of different groups. So if there is, heaven forbid, a outbreak, those two, the sessions back-to-back aren't contaminated with one another. At all times and at every field this summer, you will see 2 UDSC summer staff. They will be monitoring our entry and exit gates, as well as supporting our coaches. There'll also be 1 lead coach per group of 9 players, and you may also see some assistant coaches, although they will have to socially distance. This will give us control of our protocols. It means we're always going to have at least 3 adults at the field, making sure that everybody is safe and following the guidelines. Each field, like I mentioned, will have 2 entrances. The red dots on the picture on your right are the entrance gates. When you sign up and get your schedule, you'll be told which entrance you will be at. That will be included in your schedule that you will be given. Entry to the field. This is the one the players and the parents are going to see the most. It will be maybe a little bit complex for the first week, but once we get going and it's been repeated multiple times, the players and the parents will get better at it. So this is a very, very important part. So you'll see a picture on the right here. This is a bit of a diagram of the instructions on the left. So the little blue circles you see, they're the socially distanced players. So each player would stand in one of these circles and wait until they are called by the staff member at the red table. It's red in this diagram. It probably won't be red in real life. We will not start entry to the field for the players until the previous group has fully exited. And we'll get to the schedule a little bit later. We have times built in for this. So the players will line up socially distant. They will come up to the table one at a time. They will grab a clean pen from the clean bin. They will sign in, which involves completing a very quick questionnaire confirming they don't have any COVID-19 symptoms currently, sign in their time, and also sign it themselves as proof that they have completed it. They'll also obviously have hand sanitizer before they do any of this. I forgot to mention. Once they've done that, they are able to enter the field. They will be told which half of the field they will be on. Players, and I haven't got this written down, but it's important to note, players at the U10, U11, U12, and U13 age groups will need a guardian or sibling with them to do this for them. This is a way of us covering our butts. Players of that age may not understand the questionnaire properly, and we need to make sure that they are completing it correctly. Players 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 will be trusted to complete that form alone. This is unfortunately non-negotiable. This is a way to make sure that our documentation, which we have to keep immaculately, is correct and done well. While we're on the field, coaches will be the lead. The summer staff will keep an eye on all protocols from the safety of the entry-exit gate, making sure that we don't have members of the public interfering. Coaches will start the practices with reading of a script outlining the rules. This will become quite tedious, but again, it's important that we follow through with our protocols. If we break our protocols, this could be the end of the club for the summer. It would mean we get shut down. If there is a serious protocol break and heaven forbid again an outbreak starts, it could be the end of not just soccer but sport in general. So it's very important that we follow our protocols. Once players are on the field, they must not move to the other half. There will likely be another team down there. They have to stay in their own groups. At the end of a session, the players will collect their personal equipment. They will wait in a line at the gate, socially distanced again, which I know doesn't make a lot of sense considering they just played soccer for an hour with each other. But those have to be the protocols. And then they will complete the same set of protocols as the entry on the exit. They will squirt hand sanitizer in their hands. They will grab a clean pencil. They will sign out, and then they will be good to go. Incidents at the field. So we got the injuries here. Obviously, there's a lot of minor injuries usually, not as many seriously, thank goodness. So if there's a minor injury, the coach will have a special bag with their personal protection equipment in it. That will include a first aid kit, gloves, mask, splints, anything first aid related. The coach must put on the gloves and mask before they can attend to the player. Once they have done that and they've attended and assessed the player, the coach will help where necessary. Maybe it's a band-aid from the first aid kit or whatever it may be. If a player needs just a break and a little bit of a rest, they can do that and then join back in when they're ready. If a player needs to leave, they will follow the same protocols as we have when leaving the field at the end of a practice, and exit to the parents' car in the car park. The summer staff will have a phone and will be able to call you on the emergency contact number you give us at registration and sign into the field. If there is a serious injury, the same protocols are followed. Once we get to the assessment of the injury and we realize it's very serious, the coach will have two summer staff at the field. Their role will be to call 911 and the parents while the coach looks after the player. The second summer staff will move all players to their exits and go through the protocols to remove them from the field. They will also call the parents to make sure that they're able to come pick them up. The coach and the first summer staff will stay with the player until the ambulance arrives. If there's an incident at the field involving COVID-19, so if we feel that a player, a coach, or a staff member is showing symptoms at the field, first things first, we are asking that anybody who is showing symptoms before a practice does not come to the field. I can't emphasize this enough. It's better to be safe than sorry. If a player comes to the field, it will end that practice immediately. So if you are feeling unwell, if you have any symptoms, we ask the players not to come to the field. If there is a player at the field with symptoms, the practice will end immediately. The summer staff will be informed and lead the protocols as they have been trained to do. We'll inform the player of the concern, inform all the players of the concerns, and advise them to go to the Nova Scotia website. The DOS, which in this case is me, will be informed by phone call, and I will come to the field to lead the process. I will send an email immediately to all players participating on both halves of those fields to explain the current suspicions. I will also call the player who we feel like has the symptoms and every player within their group of 9. Hopefully, with our protocols, the two groups won't be compromised together. So the two separate groups on the same field won't both have come into contact. So we'll send an email to all 18 on the field, and I will call the 9 in the session. Everybody at that field, including the summer staff and the coach and me, will be advised to call 811 and go through the processes as per the Nova Scotia provincial government. Practices with that team will be suspended until we are given the okay from HRM or until we have completed the tests that HRM request. If there are breaks in protocol, so like I mentioned earlier, this isn't something that we can laugh and joke about. If we're caught breaking protocols, we will be shut down. So we have got some pretty severe restrictions in place here. If a coach is found to break in protocol, they'll be given 1 verbal warning. If they break it again, they will have to resit the back to play coach training, including the questionnaire. A third break will result in that coach no longer being allowed to be a coach for this summer. Any players breaking the protocol, they will be given 1 verbal warning. If they break the protocol in the same night, they will be given a second warning, and they will be asked to redo the back to play player training again. A third break in the same night, and the player will be sent home. Again, they will go through the protocols, leaving the field, and the summer staff will call the parent. If a player breaks our 3-strike rule on 2 separate nights, they will be removed from the program. Like I said, we really have 1 chance here. In this particular case, we'll be saying that we've given a player 6 chances when we don't really even have 1. So this may seem harsh, but actually it's kind of lenient. Equipment. Players will not have to bring their own ball or equipment to the field. We, as a club, are going to take control of that equipment, making sure that it's clean and ready to go. Every piece of equipment will be cleaned before and after its use. So there is almost a double cleaning for everything. Players must also not touch any of the equipment. That will be the job of the coach, obviously with the exception of the balls. Players are going to step on cones here or there. That's okay. What I'm talking about when I say touching is picking up and moving. That will be the responsibility of the coach. The only difficulty with the equipment will be pennies. Pennies are very different to balls and cones. It's not something that we can just sort of wipe down and be done with in a couple of seconds. Pennies need to be washed. So rather than trying to figure out how to get 2 pennies to every single player, potentially risk losing those pennies, we're going to ask every player to bring their navy and green jerseys to all their practices. If players do not have those navy and green jerseys, the jerseys for life, that is no problem. They'll be asked to bring a light and a dark shirt instead. The light obviously would go with the green, and the dark would go with the navy. With that being said, we obviously want to try and reduce the risk of players having to change shirts during practices. That's not something we want to do. So we have asked our coaches to try and let players know in advance which colour to wear on any given night. We've also suggested that maybe they can split the group in a 5 and a 4 and have those permanent colours for the summer. That way everyone's on the same page and they know what they're doing. If we do get to a situation where we do have to change a shirt, we do have to try and change it. Maybe there's been a couple of injuries and now we have 5 in one colour and 2 in another or something along those lines. We have asked coaches to be conscious of the players that maybe are unhappy changing shirts. I use the example of myself. When I was a 17-year-old boy, if you asked me to change my shirt in a practice, I'd be more than happy to do it. But obviously, I also had a good friend who would be absolutely mortified. So we were going to ask the coaches to try and be conscious of that. If you have a son or daughter that would be mortified if they asked to do that, please let your coach know in advance. And that way the coach can avoid asking them. We also are going to recommend that the players all wear a t-shirt or a tank top underneath their jersey, so that if that does happen, they have some protection. Like I said, our ultimate goal here for the pennies is to make sure they don't have to change shirts at all. With regards to personal protection equipment, coaches will be provided with masks and gloves if they want to use them. We do not have the capabilities or the financial capabilities to offer masks and gloves to all the players. They're not essential for players to wear if they have them, but if we do encourage them to wear them if they would like. Equipment cleaning, a nice quick one. I just want to put everyone's mind at ease. Every single item at the field will be cleaned between uses. So after a team has entered the entrance gate, for example, the table, the pencils, the sign-in sheet, everything will be wiped down with disinfectant, which is recommended by the Soccer Nova Scotia and CSA. Same thing with the equipment. The bags will be emptied and cleaned before the next group use them. And then obviously with our persons, there'll be hand sanitizer for everybody on entry and exit provided by the club. And it will always be available at any time if players want it. I just want to make sure that you feel reassured that we are going to clean everything to the utmost of our ability. For example, the groups on first on a weeknight will actually be using equipment that's been cleaned twice. They've been cleaned after the practice the night before and again before the practice just before 6 o'clock. Field and scheduling. So we have planned 6 different fields to use. This is where our reduced capacity comes in. The reason we are using 6 fields only is that gives us some control. It gives us the ability to have staff at the fields. It means that we're able to make sure our protocols are followed by our staff members. There are also the 6 fields that we feel have 2 entrances and 2 car parks, which will make it easier to minimize the crossing of different players. The 6 fields we are going to be using: Astral Drive, which will be mainly for the 12 to 18 group; Auburn, which will be mainly for the Treble A's; Cole Harbour High, which is for the skill centres; Ocean View, which is mainly for the 12 to 18 group; Portland Estates Upper, which is the elementary school side, which is mainly for the skill centres; and then Tallahassee Rec, which is mainly for Treble A's. Like I mentioned earlier, there will be mixes between those depending on how the scheduling works. With the exception of the Treble A program, all sessions will be on weeknights. This is what was requested in our member survey. The start times will be either 6 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. and will last for 1 hour. Between each session, there will be 30 minutes, 15 minutes for the team that's just practiced to leave, and then 15 minutes for the team that's coming next to get onto the field. Again, this limits any mixing between the groups. They will also be on separate halves of the field, entering and exiting. The one practice on the weekend for the Treble A's will be 1 hour, 30 minutes in length. It will be on a Sunday, and we are working to try and make it early afternoon to late afternoon. This is a very basic mock schedule, so don't look too much at the details, but I've made up coaches' names, and honestly, I've just fit everything in to make sure it fits. So don't get too worried about the timings or locations just yet. This will change based on the coach's availability. So what you can see here is you can see that we have 2 practices per week. 2 practices per night on each field. So there's 2 Mondays, 2 Tuesdays, 2 Wednesdays, 2 Thursdays, 2 Fridays on the left. And then across the top, you can see the field. You can also see the times. You've got an arrival time, which is a 15-minute block, your practice for an hour, and then your leaving time, which is another 15-minute block. When you are registering, you will have a form that looks similar to this, and you'll be able to see the age group, the gender, the coach, and the style for the 12 to 18 group. And this is how you'll be able to accurately pick which sessions you want to register for. The Treble A's are split across both halves of the field because they will be split into groups of 9. And then the yellow groups are the skill center. I keep saying skill center. The U10s and U11s. They don't have a style, as I mentioned earlier, but they will have the coach on the form. So this will be what it will look like when you're registering, and this will be how you make your decisions about which practice to register for. Next step and costs. The costs. So this is the burning question that I'm sure you're wondering. We don't have the answer just yet. That is going to be the key to our member survey. We are working to keep the cost as low as possible in line with member preferences from our previous surveys. The program cost will be dependent on the number of registrants and the number of sessions per week. The more sessions equals a higher cost. Due to the added financial pressures associated with program delivery right now, including pre-purchases of personal protection equipment, disinfectants, and cleaning tools, as well as protocol signage, we will be unable to offer refunds this summer. It is important that you are aware of that. There will not be refunds. Next steps. So obviously our member survey we're going to have out tomorrow. We're going to have out today. Sorry, I'm doing this on Wednesday. That will be going through till Sunday. The Treble A program and schedule official announcement with the costs will be out by Friday, July 3rd. For the U10 to U18 programs, that will be out on July 7th. Registration for the Treble A program will start on July 3rd and run for 4 days until Tuesday, July 7th. You will be sent invites, remember. So that would just be a matter of you opening the email, clicking accept, and going through the process from there. The players will have to go through their online health guideline training and complete the questionnaire. That will be mandatory before they're allowed in the field. They will have a week to do that, a week before they start the program. And then the program for the Treble A's, like I said, starts on July 13th. For the 10 to 18s, member survey is the same as the Treble A's. The official announcement with costs will be on Tuesday, July 7th for the 10 to 18 program. However, the costs obviously will be the same as the Treble A, so those will be out on the 3rd. We're just trying to separate the two programs to make it simpler for ourselves. Registration will open on the 7th and run to the 14th, giving you a week to register. That will be through Demisphere as per normal, so that will be on you to go to the website and sign yourself up. And then the player health guideline training will have another week. If players want to get ahead of the game, it will be the same training as the Treble A, so we will have it from the 6th. So if you register on the 7th, for example, and you want to get ahead of the game, just let me know and I'll make sure you get that training program. It is literally just a video to watch plus a questionnaire to complete at the end. And then the planned program start for the U10s to U18s is Monday, July 20th. So that is a quick overview of where the program is going. If you have questions, feel free to email me. My email is up there, dos@udfc.ca. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you on the field very, very soon. Thank you very much.